is up, awesome people, and welcome to Trivia Tuesday podcast. My name is Lady KrimZen, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking to you guys in regards to the latest Pokemon reveal, Magearna. And I'm so sorry if I pronounced that Pokemon name wrong, because I have yet to hear this Pokemon's name in English. I have no idea how to exactly pronounce this Pokemon names correctly, and at the same time, for those who are familiar with my channel will also know that I do suffer from a bit of dyslexia, so that probably doesn't help either. Alright, so one thing to take away from this episode is anything that I say in this podcast is to be taken as fictional speculation rather than factual. The only thing I can really say that goes down in hard fact is the Pokemon's biology, which we do have official artwork on Magearna, and that's pretty much about it. Anything else is just complete speculation. I will have my theories on a few things in regards to this Pokemon, but other than that, sit back. And at the end of this video, make sure to sign off with your theories and speculations on Magearna in the comment section down below in regards to what are your exact thoughts on this Pokemon. Alright, so to begin this podcast off, I thought I would start off with what I do know is hard evidence. And unfortunately, the only thing I do know is hard evidence is the Pokemon's design or its biology. And since I've only recently started doing a biology series on my channel for Trivia Tuesday, I thought, let's include the Pokemon's biology for the absolute hell of it. So, Magearna is a metallic bipedral Pokemon, made by human hands over 500 years ago. It has a spherical head with 7 geared teeth framing it, 2 large rabbit-like ears and 2 large red eyes with pink irises with white crosses in them. Both eyes are framed with gold and 2 eyelashes-like protrusions. Its upper body is Pokeball shaped, with 2 large spherical shoulders, small thin upper arms which lead to large claw-shaped forearms and end with slightly pointed hands. Its lower body is much larger, spherical and ball gown-like shape, once again bearing resemblance to a Pokeball, and 2 pointed feet. Alright, so as I said, unfortunately that's all I really do know that is factual about this Pokemon. Other than that, everything else is kind of, speculation and theories. The only other thing I can really give about this Pokemon is its name origin. So Magearna could be a combination of gear and a corruption of machina, which is Latin for machine. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I couldn't actually not give you its origin of design as of yet. I've actually done no research on this origin as of yet, so I don't know. It might be based on some type of animatronic or something man-like. Could have been puppet-like almost. I don't know why, I'm just getting a puppet vibe out of it, which is kind of freaky in a way. Alright, so from here on out, this is basically my speculations and my theories. So let's start off with its typing. For those who are wondering though, its Pokédex classification is artificial Pokemon, because as we did here in the biology, it was made by human hands over 500 years ago, which does mean it is a man-made Pokemon, which is actually quite interesting. I mean, I wonder if that would lead to a new type if we do go into Generation 7, if we're going to get a man-made type or something like that. I don't know what they will call it, but it would be pretty damn cool, having an army of man-made Pokemon. So that's something to think of. Also in regards to its national Pokedex number, I'm assuming they're going to do 722, only because of what I think is going to happen in regards to the way they're going to do the Pokedex. Again, I could be entirely wrong here, but as I said, everything I say is just purely speculation and not to be taken as actual fact. Moves. So far, they've only made mention to one particular thing that I reckon is probably going to be its signature move, and that is Soul Heart. So far in the movie summary that, what's it say here? They just referred to Magearna, saying it was born in the kingdom 500 years ago, but since went missing, as well as the unknown power called the Soul Heart, said to reside inside Magearna. So, I don't know, they say it's a power residing inside Magearna, but I reckon it'll end up being a signature move that they'll give Magearna. And again, just something quickly that I just read there, the quote, which was born in the kingdom 500 years ago. And because Azov Kingdom is related to Kalos, it's probably good speculation that this is going to be a 6th generation Pokemon rather than a 7th generation Pokemon. So as we've already seen, we've had the announcement of the Zygarde forms, we've had Cell Zygarde, 10% Zygarde, and I think it was like final form Zygarde. I'm a bit blurry on my Zygarde forms at the moment, but so far they're definitely confirmed for 6th generation. As well as that, we've also had the Ash Greninja. I don't know, I hate Greninja, so I don't know, it just seems ridiculous in my mind, but it's a thing at least. And at the same time as well, we also do have the Mega Evolutions that get announced every game as well. So for example, in a Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, we had brand new Mega Evolutions that were not in the original X and Y games. So when people did digging through the code in X and Y, they were not aware that we're going to get more Mega Evolution Pokemon. So it's quite possible that in the 3rd game for Kalos region, I'm not going to say Pokemon Z because knowing Game Freak, they're not going to do a game called Z, because when it came to 5th generation, for those who were around at that time would know that people were speculating that there was going to be Pokemon Grey, but instead we had Pokemon Black and White too, and that was actually pretty damn cool because it was going in the way that Black and White was indeed, it's going to be a sequel rather than just a complete redo of the whole game with minor little tweaks done to the game. Yeah, that's my dyslexia kicking off right there. Alright, so I've already made my speculation that this is going to be a 6th generation Pokemon, which is why I reckon its National Dex Pokedex number is going to be 722 rather than a random number like they normally do. Like for most legendary Pokemon, they give it somewhere like later on in the Pokedex, and albeit Victini, which was 000 in the Unova Pokedex, and it was, however, first when it came to the National Dex as well, so it came before the starter Pokemon. So it could also work that way as well. It could be 000 if it is a Generation 7 Pokemon. That could also work as well, but as I said, the fact that the movie does state it was created in the Azoth Kingdom is something else to take to mind as well. And for those who are wondering, like, what exactly is the Azoth Kingdom? All we know at this point in time is it is a city of super machinery where gigantic cogwheels are all over the place and rotating. So again, that's pretty much all we know. So everything else is kind of speculation. And I have heard people speculating that the Azoth Kingdom actually has something to do with AZ, which is also a reference as well, like kind of relating back to the Azoth project, which was mentioned in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which was pretty much Team Magma and Team Aqua pretty much trying to do the exact same thing that AZ did in Pokemon X and Y, and that was to pretty much decimate the entire world when they awakened both Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, depending on what game you were playing. And again, in the Delta episode where their admins tried to take on that responsibility after Maxie and Archie found out the consequences of what would happen if they awakened Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, which was pretty much they had to kill every living thing on the planet to do so. So yeah, that's not fun. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole gist of Project Azoth. It's pretty much to kill every living thing just to achieve power, and that ain't cool. Like, there's a whole backstory to it, but I'm not gonna sit here and just go through everything because it is quite long and tedious. But pretty much, there was a reference though in the game that a grunt mentions that the A and Z in the project's name refers to beginning and end, respectively, which is quite funny because Omega is referring to the end and Alpha refers to the beginning. And I was actually reading a pretty interesting theory that someone wrote online, which it was pretty cool as well, with reference to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which also referred to the Reggies as well. But again, that's somewhere online if you want to look that up. So yeah, at the moment, I do strongly believe that Magearna is going to be a 6th generation Pokemon, probably due to the facts that we've got laid out so far. But again, it's not like a first time that they've done something like this. We've had future gen Pokemon feature in a previous generation. For example, we had Marill and Snubbull and Donphan and Togepi exist in the Generation 1 anime when they've actually from Generation 2. From Generation 2, I'm not really too sure what the Generation 3 Pokemon was. I do know from Generation 3 we had Bonsly and Gale of Darkness feature in that game where you could I think you could see it, but I don't think you could catch it. Generation 3, we had Lucario. Sorry, that just popped into my head then. Lucario was from Generation 3, even though it's a Generation 4 Pokemon. And I think Zoroark was featured in Generation 4 anime when, it was a Generation 5 Pokemon. And I'm not really too sure who was a Generation 6 Pokemon, but it could happen here as well that Magearna could pop up and be the Generation 7th representative in a Generation 6 anime. So that could also be a thing as well. As I said, my speculation for this being a 6th generation Pokemon is just purely speculation and not to be taken as facts. But I just see too much evidence here and just going by other stuff as well. Like, for example, when the Code Diggers dug up the whole legendary Pokemon, Volcanion, Diancie, Eternal Floatet, they also dug up Hooper as well, the Pokeball of Livion, all the hidden stuff that hadn't been announced yet. It did kind of ruin the whole surprise there, and I guess Game Freak kind of thought they weren't going to put everything in the game, so I guess the elements of surprise was still there. But at the same time, as I said, the movie does refer to it being made in that Azov's Kingdom as well. Yeah. That's pretty much everything that I pretty much have in regards to this Pokemon. I mean, I was going to make this a bit longer, but I kind of was drabbling on for quite some time. None of it was starting to make sense, and I was losing my point. It got a bit boring after a while. It was quite tedious on my part as well. So hopefully what I've said's kind of made sense, and hopefully people might be able to expand on it or come up with their own theories and speculations. But as I said, that's pretty much all my thoughts on Magearna for now, until we get some future, some future teasers in regards to this Pokemon. But at the moment, as I said, I kind of still feel that the third Pokemon game for the Kalos region is still going to happen, since we have had the Zygarde reveals for each of its forms. So that's still going to happen. However, I do believe it's not going to be called Z. It just seems too predictable, and a quote from Game Freak did say, this was before Future as well, that they were not going to be calling it, like, the third game in Black and White Grey because it was too predictable, which is why they came up with Pokemon Black and White 2, since it was going to be a sequel. And I think they're going to do the same thing here as well, and the other idea people have had is it's going to be XZ and YZ, which again does refer to DNA, but again I reckon Game Freak is not going to do that, since it is still slightly predictable. So we'll have a third game for the Kalos region, but I reckon it's not going to go by those names. And I reckon we're going to have those Zygarde forms in regards to the main story. And if this Pokemon is indeed a 6th generation Pokemon, as I speculate, we will most likely have something similar in regards to like the Delta episode, but made just specifically for this Pokemon. So it may have its own little arc in Pokemon, like the third game for Kalos region. I was nearly going to call it Pokemon Z, but I said I wasn't going to do that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting what they do with this Pokemon. I kind of do hope it does end up going in 6th generation, because I kind of feel it's too early to reveal Generation 7. Usually they do it after the third game. But as I said, we'll see what happens from here. So yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up now before I start drabbling on about nonsense like I normally do in these type of live commentary stuff. So having said that, thank you so much guys if you stuck around for the entire podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And since people, like the last time I did this type of podcasty style video, people said they enjoyed it. So this is the only reason why I've decided to do another one. So leave your comments, thoughts, speculations, theories, etc. down in the comments section below. And I seriously would love to read what you guys think and see if we can come up with our own little theories and speculations as a group, because that would be really awesome to make as a bit of a group project. Alright, so that's all I gotta say, folks. So until next time, this is Lady KrimZen saying ciao for now, but not forever.